These days, fake news is in the news now more than ever. It's very important to fact-check every story you come across. While a lot of the crazy stories you hear are too strange to be true, that only makes it so much cooler when you find one that really did happen. Number 10. Self-surgery by gun. In 1988, the Los Angeles and New York Times both reported a story about a man identified only as George. At the age of 19, George was suffering from severe obsessive-compulsive disorder. He was washing his hands hundreds of times each day and taking multiple daily showers. It left him no time for anything else. And his condition spun him into some pretty bad depression. George decided that the only way to escape his disorder was to end his life, so he shot himself in the mouth with a .22 caliber rifle, but he did not get the outcome he was expecting. George survived the point-blank headshot, and believe it or not, that is actually not unheard of. People have survived suicide attempts by .22s, not just because of the bullet's small size, but because of the angle at which the barrel is generally inserted into the mouth directs the bullet toward the less essential areas of the brain. This is precisely what happened to George, only in addition to not killing him. The bullet actually took out the portion of his frontal lobe, which was responsible for his OCD. If that wasn't lucky enough, the shot caused no other brain damage. After recovering from his injuries, George found he no longer felt the urge to engage in his previously obsessive behaviors and went on to be a straight-A college student. Way to go, George! Shoot for the stars. Number 9. Got your number. In Chinese culture, the number 8 is considered to be a lucky number. This is because of the Cantonese word for 8 sounds, similar to the word for fortune, and in Mandarin 8 sounds like wealth. So it's common for people who own luxury vehicle to pay for vanity plates that incorporate one or several 8s. A man named Louis in Shanghai, who was by all accounts not rich, bought a small truck which cost him 30,000 yuan. He then proceeded to shell out 1 million yuan for a vanity plate with 5 8s on it. He believed that the plate of AIDS would bring him fortune. Well, it brought him fortune, but not the good fortune he expected. On his first day with a new plate, Louis was pulled over multiple times because local police assumed the expensive plate had to be fake, especially on such a common and unremarkable vehicle. But while fortune may not have been smiling on Louis that day, and at least kept a sense of humor about it, Louis was pulled over a total of 8 times before his story made the rounds of the police station headquarters and the cops stopped pulling him over. Better luck next time, Louis. Number 8. Worth it? If you're familiar with James May, you probably know him as one of the hosts of Top Gear, a show about cars and the automotive industry. Before hosting Top Gear, James was an award-winning car journalist. In 1992, May was an editor at the magazine Autocar, where he got so bored editing their annual review issue that he snuck a secret message into the magazine's annual road test yearbook publication. Using the first letter of every page of the review section, he spelled out the message. So you think is really good? Yeah, you should try making the bloody thing up. It's a real pain in the arse. May was later fired for this when a few perceptive readers caught on. Luckily for May, he moved on to bigger and better things. Number 7. Always double check. During the Cold War, the militaries of both the USA and the Soviet Union were constantly monitoring the skies for any sign of a nuclear attack from the other side. Orders on both sides were considered to counter-launch if there was any indication that an enemy missile had been launched. Needless to say, if any missiles had been launched during the Cold War, the West would be a very different place than the one we know today. That's why we're all very lucky that on September 26, 1983, the OCO nuclear early warning system was being manned by duty officer Stanislav Petrov. When the system alerted the Soviets that an American missile had just been launched, Stan had the good sense to consider the gravity of the situation and make one extra double check, despite the fact that he had the all clear to launch a counterattack right away. And he was right to stop and think the alert was actually caused by a malfunctioning satellite and 9 American nuke. Years later, Petrov was invited to a special ceremony in California, where he was presented with a World Citizen Award and $1,000 American dollars. That's a pretty good price for the lives of millions of people. Number 6. Small screen dreams. If you fell down a YouTube nostalgia hole and landed at this video, chances are you're familiar with the show Space Ghost Coast to Coast, which aired on the Cartoon Network between 1994 and 2004. The show used forgotten Hanna-Barbera characters mixed with celebrity footage to create a whole new kind of comedy. What you may not know about is the strange event that led to the show's creation. Cartoon Network head programmer Mike Lazo was all set to create some new original programming using forgotten Hanna-Barbera content, which did not originally include Space Ghost. However, on the morning of the day they were to begin production, Lazo woke from a fever dream about the obscure superhero hosting the talk show, and he just knew it would work. He scrapped all prior plans and focused instead on developing Space Ghost Coast to Coast. The show would go on to enjoy huge popularity among late-night television enthusiasts and spawn the Cartoon Network's now most popular programming block, Adult Swim. Not bad for a character whose original sidekicks were two preteens and a monkey in tights. Number 5. One small run for man. Gaylord Perry was pitcher for the San Francisco Giants from 1962 to 1970. I know it's a weird name, but his parents really did think it was wise to name him Gaylord. As a pitcher, hitting power was not the main reason he made the team. His manager, Alvin Dart, joked in 1963 that they would put a man on the moon before Perry hit a home run. Perhaps Dark should have skipped sports management and gone into the fortune-telling business, because on July 20th, 1969, just an hour after the historic first moon landing, Perry hit his first home run, unless, of course, he faked the whole thing. Number 4. Cold War Closed One. On a January night in 1961, a United States B-52 bomber carrying 2 nuclear bombs was flying over Goldsboro, North Carolina, when it was discovered that the aircraft had a fuel leak. The bomber crashed into a cotton field with the majority of the flight crew ejecting to safety, although 3 men did lose their lives. Each of the 2 nukes had destructive power, 250 times out of the infamous Hiroshima bomb. To the relief of Goldsboro residents, neither one detonated on impact. However, during its rough descent, one of the bombs almost managed to arm itself. The bomb broke up and scattered into several pieces across the field. Air Force personnel were alarmed when they found the piece containing the arm switched into the arm position. The bomb contains several safety mechanisms and all, but one of them have been deactivated during the fall. That's a 1-inch difference between the city of Goldsboro and a hole in the ground. Number 3. Art imitates life. You probably know Fat Tony as the notorious head of the Springfield Mafia on The Simpsons, but Fat Tony was an actual mobster who hit the peak of his career in the 80s, just before The Simpsons made its debut. Anthony Fat Tony Salerno operated out of New York, but his actual position in Mafia hierarchy remains unclear. The FBI investigated Fat Tony for years under the assumption that he was the head of his branch of the mob, but later on, it was discovered that he was acting as a decoy for the real boss, Vincent the Chin Gigan. Regardless of his position, Fat Tony was no small player, running numbers and backing high-profile professional fighters. No wonder he inspired the imposing Simpsons character. The real Fat Tony was convicted in the Mafia Commission trial and sentenced 100 years in prison. In 1992, he died of a stroke in a prison, and get this, Springfield, Missouri. Number 2. Alcohol kills. It's an offensive stereotype that the poor are constantly awash in booze, but for one day in 1814, it was true, at least in the vicinity of a few blocks in London. On October 17th of that year, 610,000-liter VAT of beer, a Mule and Company brewery, overturned and spilled into neighboring buildings, many of which were served as inexpensive basement rooming houses for poor families. The flood caused at least 8 confirmed deaths by drowning or injury. A local pub now brews a special porter to commemorate the tragedy. Number 1. Striking gold. In 1995, Lena Paulsson of Sweden took off her wedding ring to do some baking and did not see it again. That is until 2012, when she pulled a carrot out of her vegetable garden and found the ring sitting snugly around it. The discovery was inexplicable until Paulsson remembered that the day she lost her ring, she had been collecting vegetable peels in the kitchen sink, which would later be taken out of compost or fed to the sheep on her farm. The ring must have either been composed directly into the soil or passed through the sheep and later used as fertilizer. Either way, had that carrot ended up at the local farmer's market, someone would have gotten a great deal. These stories prove that truth is stranger than fiction. Are there any more far-out true stories that we may have missed? Let us know in the comments below and share this video to allow your friends.